Mike, how are you?
I'm okay. Nice to see you.
Always good to see you. How
And
have
hello.
you been? What's new?
Well, let's see. And also, hello, audience. Let me apologize in advance. I'm a little hoarse today. I got pretty sick last week, but I think the only thing that's left of that is a sore throat and a cough. But let's
Oh,
see.
I'm so glad you're better enough to do this.
Thank you. Yeah,
Hmm.
since last week I turned 59, and I attempted to climb three mountains in Northern California and Oregon, but there was just way too much snow, and I got sick, and I lost my phone,
Oh,
and the whole
ooh.
trip did not work out very well. Um, but yeah, other than that, yeah, nothing much new to report.
I'm sorry about that. I wish it went better.
That's okay.
Well, do you have any trivia for our viewers?
No, I'm hoping you do.
I do, in fact. I have trivia on mountain climbing.
Oh, good. One of my favorite topics.
So we are going to ask you guys this trivia, and as we are waiting for you guys to put the answers in the live chat, please feel free to ask any questions you may have for Michael Shackelford, and we will get to those questions in the order that they are received. So our first question is, let's see, the Himalayas and the Karakoram, I hope you know what that is, Karakoram ranges, are all home to all of the world's tallest mountains. This is known as what? What is that nickname for those mountains?
Hmm. So a nickname basically for the Himalayas.
And the Himalayas and the Karakoram.
Okay. Yeah, I just don't know, but maybe someone in the
Okay.
audience does.
So if you guys know, put that in the chat. And our first question comes from Ari, who says, a big fan of you both. Michael, I would like to know what you think about Marilyn Savant, especially the discussion she has had about the Monty Hall problem.
Thank you for the compliment. I love Marilyn Savant. I read her column religiously when I lived in Baltimore and subscribed to the Baltimore Sun that carried the Parade supplement on Sundays, in which she had a column, and it was my favorite part of the whole paper. So I'm a big fan of Marilyn's, and I do especially remember the whole brouhaha about the Monty Hall problem. So for the benefit of the other audience members, somebody asked her about the Monty Hall problem, which really quickly goes, there's a game show and there's three doors, and the host knows which door reveals a prize. Let's call it a car, and behind the other two doors are goats. And the way it always goes down is a player will pick a door, and then Monty Hall will open one of the other two doors, always revealing a goat. And then he will say, do you want to switch to the other door that hasn't been opened yet? And statistically speaking, you should. The chances of getting the car will be 2/3 if you switch and 1/3 if you don't. And I'm not going to get into why, because then it'll take up the whole show. And she gave the correct answer. However, she wasn't exactly clear that it was Monty's, that he knew where the car was and he always revealed a goat. And some people didn't catch on to that. And then she got flooded with letters, including from people that ran statistics departments in colleges, saying that she was wrong. But she was right. And some people misunderstood the question, which commonly happens with the Monty Hall problem. But yeah, I absolutely say that she was right all along. And she had to write like at least two follow-up columns because there was such a controversy about it. So yeah, I really would like to. I should try to catch up with what she's been writing, because since I left Baltimore, I haven't been following her. But yeah, there you go. Rather long answer, but okay. Next question.
Awesome. So our next question comes from Paul. What do you think of the case with a lady who thought she won $1 million jackpot on a Wheel of Fortune machine a few days ago?
Okay, yeah, I was just looking into this and wrote about it a little bit yesterday, but I'm absolutely on the casino slash IGT's side. This is just a typical malfunction, and this is a machine that has mechanical reels as well as a mechanical prize wheel. And the player did trigger the bonus with a 2x multiplier. And the way slot machines work is that as soon as you press the button, like the spin button, your outcome is predestined. The game picks numbers that get mapped to things on the reels or prize wheels, and that's what determines what you win. So, so in her case, the slot machine keeps a log of all this that even the casino can't get to. And the log file said that she won $300, but when the wheel that was supposed to land on basically 150 with the 2x multiplier, it didn't stop in the right place. There was some kind of a technical malfunction, and it stopped on the jackpot symbol. But there was not like the usual fanfare when you get the jackpot. It just kind of stopped there. And I don't know all the exact details, but it was indeed a malfunction. Every single machine says malfunction, voids all pays and plays. So, I hear it wasn't handled that well at the casino. But nevertheless, she only won $300, and she should lose. And I do hope that she loses the case.
Dang, that would be something to be involved in. And it's never good when it malfunctions, right?
Well, of course, I'm sure it would be quite the letdown. But usually when you do win a legitimate jackpot, there's a lot of fanfare. And usually when there's some kind of a malfunction, the game goes into a slow spin. The reel spins backwards. There's just something fishy about it. And in the case when she won, there was a lot of fishy things going on, that there was not a legitimate jackpot. And the employees told her all along. One of them rather rudely said, "Lady, get it through your head. You didn't win the jackpot." Yeah, which was very rude, but it doesn't mean she should get the jackpot. So so I feel sorry for her. I feel a little bit sorry for her. Only a little bit, because of course she got a greedy lawyer to fight it. But there you go. That's my 2 cents about the case.
Okay. We'll do one more, and then we'll see if you guys have any answers to the trivia question. And this one more is actually more of a request than a question. On your email updates, can you please add the links to the new articles to your website? I think they used to be there, but they're not there right now.
I take it you're talking about the newsletter, and I agree that would be a good idea, and we should be doing that, and I will look into that.
Cool. Okay, let's see what if anyone has the answer to the trivia question. And Delbrickson said, "Is it the top of the world?" No, unfortunately, that is not the correct answer. The correct answer is they are collectively known as the 8,000ers. So these peaks tower at altitudes exceeding 8,000 meters above the sea level, which is one of the ways that it got its nickname.
Okay, I tend to think that the 8,000ers is more of a term for the top, like 10 highest mountains in the world that are over 8,000 feet, as opposed to the whole mountain range, but I could be wrong.
Well, maybe you'll like this trivia question better. So mountain climbing can be extremely dangerous. Name 2 out of the possible 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 things that could go wrong when you are mountain climbing that cause it to be dangerous.
Okay, that's something I could talk for hours about.
Maybe we should just do a live stream one day where you're talking about that.
In fact, I'm reading a book right now on mountaineering accidents in 2023. So this topic is very fresh on my mind. But I'll just put a couple of things.
Okay, let's see if you got it. And we're doing this in the private chat, so that way you guys can't see what Mike's answer is. You are correct. Those are two of those things. Okay, so if you know the answer, put it in the chat. Our next question, and if you have any questions for Michael Shackelford, please put that in the chat as well, and we will answer them in the order they are received. Our next question comes from Don Duggan, who says, what causes random number generator bonuses to trigger?
Okay, so I touched on this earlier, but when you press spin on a slot machine, the game is going to pick random numbers. In fact, it's always picking them, but the last ones picked at the moment you click spin or press spin determines what happens to you. So let's say that you're playing a 3-reel game that has a bonus wheel. So what might happen is the game might pick 4 numbers. The first 3 will determine where those reels stop. And then the 4th one will determine where the prize wheel stops if you do trigger the bonus. So let's say that you need 3 symbols that say spin to get the bonus spin. And if the first 3 random numbers mapped to numbers in that range for the spin result on all 3 reels, then the game will be coded to say, yes, the player met the conditions for the bonus. Now let's spin that wheel. And that's going to stop where the 4th random number dictates. So again, it's all based on random numbers, and if they fall in certain, and depending upon the range that they fall in, will determine how much you win.
Okay, awesome. Okay, so our next question is a Yahtzee. It's actually the Yahtzee answer from the last AMA. With 2 rolls remaining, holding 1, 3, 4, 5, this gives you 11 out of 36 chance of making a large straight, and holding a 3, 4, 5 only gives you a 10 out of 36.
Oh yeah, thank you. I forgot about that. So I think I'm going to make an Ask the Wizard question out of this one.
Ooh. Nice. Good job, Dalbergson.
Yeah. So I'm writing this down right now. Yeah, thank you. Thank you. That's good stuff.
Our next question comes from Technics, who says, can you discuss the implied probability odds versus the fair probability odds for sportsbook betting lines? Maybe you could do a newsletter on the subject with the formulas.
Okay. Okay. I like to stay away from jargon as much as I can, but I think what you mean is, let's say that there is a football game that's, say, between the Baltimore Ravens and the Kansas City Chiefs. And let's say that the lines are Kansas City minus, we'll say minus 170, and let's say Baltimore's plus 150. So I think it could be said the implied probability of Baltimore winning is going to be 100 divided by 250, which should be 40%. Yep. So that's the implied probability of Baltimore winning if you're getting plus 150 and it's a fair bet. However, the actual probability we can get, assuming that they move both lines by the same distance, it would imply that the fair lines would be plus and minus 160. So that would give Baltimore a probability of winning of 38.46%. So if my terminology is right, that is my answer.
Fantastic. Okay, so our next one comes from Nick, who says, I would like to know what you think about Mikki Mase. There are people who can make 12 units in Baccarat flat betting every day around the world. He has done the same thing with massive units. I don't think what he has done is so hard, except for the fact that he has the blank to bet Oh, he has the bankroll to bet 250,000 a hand.
I don't think
Oh,
that.
well,
I don't think bank
yeah.
is the word he was using.
Well, do you want me to say the word?
You can. Yeah, you can say it.
Uh, the fact that he has the balls to
Yeah.
bet 250 a hand.
Yeah. I claim that he is a quack. He's a fraud. Absolutely, all the way. He is just for the benefit of the rest of the audience, he has a whole bunch of YouTube videos where he claims that he has the casinos are cheating the players in Baccarat, that somehow the shoes are set up in a non-random manner. And he has figured out how they did it and has reverse engineered it to figure out how to take advantage of the casinos, taking advantage of the players. But it's all a scam. And his videos are full of him showing him with piles of money on his coffee table in his hotel suite, and just flashing around lots of money, and there's always hot women close by him, and he evidently has a lot of rapper friends, and he says that I think that he is selling his secret for $50 million, something like that. And I think it's kind of implied that maybe people can piggyback on him. I don't know exactly what his scam is, but it is a scam that the way the casino shoes are shuffled in Baccarat is fair. And he has offered no evidence that he can beat the game other than like piles of cash, which anybody who has a lot of cash can produce pictures of piles of cash. And I don't dispute that he has a lot of money. I think that he's a trust fund kid. That I don't know for sure. It's just an assumption. And but about this stuff about making 12 units is, I could easily make 12 units a sitting too, as long as I had a really huge bankroll to back it up. Like, let's say that I had a 1,200 unit bankroll, then I could win 12 units 99% of the time almost. So, so there is my answer to that one.
Awesome. And I agree with you. That kind of thing is such BS.
Yep.
When I was a casino dealer, we would actually see that kind of behavior, people flashing money and pretending that they're all that. And now it's like gone online to YouTube, and now it's like a social media thing.
Yeah. He definitely has a lot. He's a social media celebrity, and he always has hot girls floating around him everywhere. So I'm sure that helps. But yeah, again, you've heard my answer. I'm not going to say anymore.
Okay, well, let's see if we have an answer to the trivia question. The trivia question again was, mountain climbing can be dangerous. Can you name 2 of the dangers that people would face when mountain climbing? And Dalbrixon said, eaten by a Yeti. Have you ever had that experience where you're eaten by a Yeti?
No, if I was, I'd talk about it.
Dalbrixon also said hypothermia and hypoxia. Yes, those are 2 of the dangers. Mike, do you want to share what your answer was?
I said hypothermia and falling.
Yes, and those were 2 of the answers as well. The other answers are altitude sickness, avalanches, falling rocks, and storms or poor weather conditions.
Yeah. Those are all the big ones. One thing I'm taking away from this book is that I'm reading is a lot of accidents and fatalities happen because people were rushed and they didn't do things safely. And there's a lot, and especially with rock climbing and rappelling, you really need to be careful. And a lot of people maybe trusted an anchor that another climber left there that had been sitting out in the weather and being exposed for years, and it went bad, and they died because of it. And usually when people analyze these things, A component to many stories was the weather was getting bad and they appeared to be rushed to get off the mountain. So, and you cut corners with safety. And when you cut corners, it's like playing Russian roulette.
Yeah. So what would you do if you were in that situation where a previous climber had an anchor there? Would you test it? Would you just put your own anchor in? How would you go about doing that?
Yeah, you absolutely should examine it. Lots of times climbers will leave webbing that you clip into to rappel off of, and webbing can go bad. And even if it looks new, you should still check it. And some climbers will just not use other people's webbing. Basically, and contingencies is a big word. Like if the main system goes bad, there should be some kind of a backup.
Okay. So if you guys have any gambling questions you would like to ask Michael Shackelford, please put it in the chat. Our next trivia question for you is Yurichiro Miura is on record as the oldest person to ever climb Mount Everest. This record was set in 2003 and has been unbroken for a decade. How old was he in 2003 when he set this record?
Okay. I just put a guess.
Nope, that's not it.
Okay.
Oh, your camera. Okay, there we go. Okay, so our next question is from Cool Bananas, who says, "Hi, Michael. My local casino has a promo when the Lightning Link and Dragon Link major jackpots is doubled for 1 hour a day. Do you think it would be a plus EV if the major is maxed out?"
Interesting. No one's ever asked me that before. I tend to think okay, so the major jackpot is doubled. I really would like to see some math on that, or at the very least play it a little bit to have an educated opinion on this. I do tend to think that at just the average jackpot, it probably isn't enough to go positive. But if the jackpot is already maybe quite high, like higher than it normally is 90% of the time, then maybe, but I'm still not sure. And sorry, I don't have a better answer to that one.
Okay. Our next question comes from Technics, who says, "Can you discuss the implied probability odds versus the fair odds?" Oh, we already did that one. Our next question comes from ORGBD, who says, "I was dealt 42s plus a kicker on 100 play TDB. I can't find the probability of being dealt that hand anywhere. Can you please explain the math?"
So he's talking about 4 deuces plus, I assume, an ace kicker. So let's work that out. So there's just 4 possible aces for the kicker. There's only one way to get the 4 deuces. So we're going to take 4 and divide that by 2,598,960, which is the number of combinations of picking 5 out of 52. And let's take the inverse of that. So we get the probability of getting that on the deal is 1 in 649,740.
Fantastic. Okay, so our next question comes from Technics, who says, "Could you explain what shuffle tracking is, how to do it, and how effective it is when playing blackjack?"
Okay, so shuffle tracking is generally done when there is a hand shuffle of the game, and usually, hopefully, kind of a quick sloppy shuffle. So the player might remember where, say, 5 cards were that come before an ace, and try to follow this like little clump of cards through the shuffle. And hopefully it doesn't get broken apart and the player can track it. And then when the next shoe comes out, it doesn't matter where the cut card is, hopefully not breaking that little sequence of cards. So if the player knows that there's going to be like an 8 of diamonds, a queen of clubs, a 2 of hearts, a 3 of spades, and an ace of diamonds before, I don't know, say an ace of clubs, whatever, then when he recognizes that sequence from the previous shoe, he can know what the next card is going to be, which will probably be an ace. So hopefully he'll see that sequence, and the very next card out of the next hand will be his. So if you know that next card is going to be ace and ace, that's a time to shove out a big bet, because you will have about a 54% player advantage. But it's difficult to do because most dealers use mechanical shufflers now. And even when there is a hand shuffle, it's usually good enough to thwart shuffle tracking.
Yep. When we're learning how to be dealers, we have to learn when shuffling to lace the cards, so that way it's not in chunks. And chunks is what you're talking about with sloppy dealing.
Yep.
Okay, one more question, or should we see what the trivia answer is?
Let's see the trivia.
Okay, so Mateo said 80. Dalbrixen said 77. Dalbrixen, you are the closest. He was 70 years old when he broke that record.
All right.
Very good. Okay, so our next trivia question is Pemba Dorje Sherpa currently holds the world record for the quickest ascent of Mount Everest. How long did it take him to summit the peak?
Okay, and I assume it's from base camp.
And while you're doing that, if you guys have any questions you would like to ask Michael Shackelford, please put it in the chat. And nope, that is not correct, Mike.
Just a guess.
Our next question comes from Nick. What are the true odds of a tie in Baccarat?
Just off the top of my head, I think it was about 9.5%, but let's check my website and see.
And if you guys want to check this out to yourself, go to wizardofodds.com. Mike has an amazing website with so much information on it. It is really one of the keystones in the casino industry. It's so fantastic. You have to check it out if you haven't already.
Thank you. So the probability of a tie is 9.5156%.
Fantastic. Okay, so our next question comes from Mateo, who says, whenever I go to the craps table, I always see people bet sucker bets and not the pass line or the come line. Any advice on what I should say to some people, like say it's bad luck or it goes against the table?
My advice is say nothing at all. I've learned a long time ago to not give unsolicited advice in the casino. So I would just mind your own business and let them play how they want to play.
I completely agree with you on that. As a casino dealer, I would always tell other players, these people, they worked for their money. It's their money. They could do whatever they want with their money, including play poorly. If it makes them happy, that's what they want to do. And
I don't think anyone wants to play poorly, but how does anyone at the table know that I know what I'm talking about? To them, I'm just some average person. So, and most advice you hear in casinos, including from dealers, is really bad. So, why should they trust me? Now, it's happened lots of times when people started to respect my opinion because maybe I was winning, or maybe they overheard me talking to somebody else who did ask me a question, in which case I'm happy to give advice. But again, I almost never give unsolicited advice.
Great,
My
great
philosophy,
advice.
yeah, thank you.
Okay, so another question is from Grace, who says, do you prefer Pai Gow poker with a fully wild or semi-wild joker?
I like the semi-wild. I don't know why they have that stupid rule, but that's what I'm used to here in Nevada. And you know, it's kind of like the English common way of measuring things, like with feet and with pounds. I'm a huge advocate of the metric system, but nevertheless, I'm used to dealing with feet and pounds and inches, and that's just kind of what I'm used to. So for much the same reason, even though I think the rules of Pai Gow poker are kind of stupid, it's what I'm used to, and I think that if I were to play in California with the fully wild joker, I would probably just out of habit play it by the Nevada rules and make mistakes.
Okay, so I got to find out, why do you think it's stupid?
Why should the joker only count to complete straights and flushes? Whereas in every other poker game, it's completely wild. There's no restrictions on it. So, yeah, but and other stupid rules like the wheel being the second highest straight, just stupid. Whoever invented this game did not know what he was doing. But nevertheless, I hate to criticize success, but yeah. And there's this stupid rule in the house way that if the dealer gets five aces and five aces, then the player should split the five aces between a three of a kind and a three aces and two aces, except if the dealer also has two kings, and then the dealer should retain the five of a kind in the high hand. According to my calculations, this has probably never saved the casino a single penny. It's such an unlikely situation. And then even if it did happen, it's so unlikely to actually help the casino, because the casino would probably win either way, that they have to make every single Pai Gow poker dealer memorize this stupid rule that never happens. It's just a really badly designed game. It's yeah. So thank you for letting me get that off my chest.
That was enjoyable. I liked that a lot.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, let's see if you guys have any answers to the trivia questions. Dow Brixon said 35 hours. No, that is not correct. He scaled that mountain in 8 hours and 10 minutes.
Wow.
Yeah, he must have been running up that mountain.
Yeah, and I take it he's a Sherpa, so he's probably climbed it like 100 times.
Probably. Yep. Okay, so our next trivia question is, let's see here. So, as early as 200 BC, what has shown people mountain climbing, proving to present day adventurers that they are far from the only ones interested in the sport? So, what item as early as 200 BC has shown people mountain climbing?
Okay.
So if you know that answer, put it in the chat. Also, if you have any questions for Michael Shackelford, please put that in the chat as well, and we will answer it in the order that they are received. That is not correct, Mike.
Okay, let me give a second guess.
Okay. Nope, that's not it either.
Oh well.
I'm glad I was finally able to find a trivia thing that stumped you.
Good questions.
It's so rare when that happens. Like, you usually know the answers to these, every single one. It's amazing. Like, you should be on Jeopardy.
I'm not smart enough.
I doubt that. Okay. If again, if you have any questions, please put them in the chat. Our next question is from Mike, who says, "Is there a strat guide for Deuces Wild Ultimate X bonus streak out there?"
Probably not. Ultimate X bonus streak. Yeah, I don't think there are. I think that I give tips on how to develop a strategy on my site, but off the top of my head, I don't remember the steps to doing that.
Okay. Our next question comes from Cool Bananas, who says, "Hi, Mike. Do you think people are making money from their skill in slot machines in Pennsylvania? They have a button where you could see the next spin prize value. You can go through all of the denominations."
I'm not sure what you mean by having a button where you can see the next spin prize value. This might be some quirky Pennsylvania law, but I don't know enough about it to answer the question, to be honest with you.
Okay. Again, if you have any gambling questions for Mike, please put it in the chat. Our next one comes from Zahid, who says, "Do you prefer to play Baccarat online, or do you suggest to go to a land-based casino?"
It all depends on the reason you're playing, but I think playing in a land-based casino is just much more fun. But if a land-based casino is just not convenient for you and you just want to relax with a little baccarat for half an hour, then by all means be my guest. So it all depends on the reason you're playing, and I leave that decision up to each individual.
Okay. If you have any questions for Michael Shackelford, please put it in the chat. Let us go to the trivia answer. Dal Brixen was the closest one, who said tomb paintings. That was pretty close. I think we should give it to him. The answer is Chinese paintings from as early as 200 BC.
And I take it they're on mountains that you would need technical skills to get to the top of?
I would assume so. It doesn't say where these paintings were found.
Yeah, I guess they're found on tops of mountains. That would be my guess. One of my trips to China, I did a river cruise, and what the people did way back when is with a dead body is they shoved them in like these little crevices in these sheer cliffs. And to this day, nobody knows how people scaled these cliffs, much less with a dead body to stuff inside. So it's kind of one of those mysteries, not just in mountaineering, but mysteries in anything.
That is so strange. I mean, It makes sense if someone, passed away up there, they didn't have helicopters to get them down.
Yeah. My best guess would be they used ropes to lower these bodies, and some people, as well as some climbers. And that's how they did it. But, never really thought about it much before.
Okay.
Okay, next question.
Okay, so our next trivia question. You could answer one or both of these. The IFSC reports that this number of licensed athletes have registered to climb mountains, and the average age is blank years old. So you can either tell me what the average age is, or you could tell me how many licensed athletes you think have been registered to climb mountains.
Is this an international thing or the U.S.?
The IFSC, so I'm assuming it's international.
And you're asking about the average age?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I'll just do the average age.
Okay. And that is not correct.
Just a guess.
You have no idea how psyched I am that I was able to stump you with these trivia questions. in all the years I've been around you, this is so rare.
Yeah, not to diminish the questions, but I tend to do things better, like what is the highest mountain in Europe, or what is the most dangerous mountain as measured by fatalities in the United States, things like that.
Do
Something
you
with
want to do the Do you want to do the next trivia question then?
Okay, here's one. Yeah, I'll do the next one after we adjudicate the one you just asked.
Okay, that sounds good. So our next gambling question comes from Saketh, who says, coding video appreciation. Love your Ultimate Texas Hold'em videos. Thank
Yeah,
you.
thank you. I just released part 2 yesterday. So I'm working on a whole series of videos that show how to code Ultimate Texas Hold'em, which is a very difficult game, and I'm breaking it down. It'll probably be a total of like 6 videos. So just did part 2, just released part 2 yesterday. So thank you for the compliment. That helps me keep me going, because sometimes I worry nobody ever watches these coding videos.
That's exciting. Well, we've had plenty of questions where people were asking you how you code some of these things. So I think that's really good content.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. So Zahid says, it says that online casinos manipulate the results of Baccarat. What is your opinion?
I think that 99% of the time you get a fair game. And and I'm always happy to expose casinos that aren't cheating. Happy to look at any evidence, but casinos don't need to cheat to make a lot of money. So why would they? They have much more to gain by just dealing an honest game and counting on that house advantage to make money.
100%. If someone thinks that a casino is cheating, how would they get a hold of you so you would investigate it?
I would recommend going to Wizard of Vegas and making a post laying out your evidence, why the casino is cheating, and me and a lot of other very smart people will look at it and evaluate it.
Fantastic. Okay, so this next one's a good one. Sakith says, have you retired in life? What was your primary occupation? Was Wizard of Odds a hobby? What do you do these days?
Okay, that's a pretty big question. I have not retired. I just turned 59, and I'm kind of hoping to be mostly retired when I turn 60. However, I'm already kind of phasing into retirement. I don't work as hard as I used to. Yes, before I was the wizard, I was a government actuary for the Social Security Administration, and I kept track of all their trillions of dollars and how changes in legislation might affect how much money the program would have in the future. But during this time in the 90s, I took an interest in making my website about gambling, which I later named the Wizard of Odds. And that's what, to make a long story short, led me to be the wizard that you see today.
Okay. And the other question was, what do you do these days?
Oh, my hobbies are I like running, unicycling, mountain biking, hiking, rock climbing, canyoneering, inline skating, and I still like I enjoy puzzles and games, things like that. So there's a quick answer to that question.
Now, before the Wizard of Odds, do you want to tell people what your claim to fame was?
Do you mean with the baby names?
Yes.
Yeah. So I became a father in 1997, and being a Michael, I didn't want to give my child a popular name, but I had no idea what were the popular names at the time. But having access to really good data on Social Security records, including Social Security cards, it was very easy for me to see what were the most popular names for the most recent data available, which at the time was 1996. So as long as that query took me probably like 5 minutes to write. So as long as I did it, I thought, wow, this is great stuff. Nobody else has done this before. I think I'll throw it on my own personal website. And from there, it garnered all kinds of national attention. My lists have been quoted on the national news many times. My name has been on the front page of the Los Angeles Times when I discovered the most popular boy's name in California was Jose. So yeah, that's another one of my claims to fame.
I love that.
Thanks.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so our next gambling question comes from George, who says, in Baccarat, I believe more in money management than any card strategy. What do you think?
I'm not a big proponent of money management. I think that it's, shall we say, it doesn't cut down the house advantage at all. I think it's mathematical voodoo. I'm not saying don't use money management. Do whatever you think is right for you. But in Baccarat is real simple. Just stick to the banker and the player bet. And of the two, the banker is the better of the two. But stay away from the tie, excuse me, and all the side bets. It's that Baccarat is really simple.
Awesome. Okay, let's see if you guys have the correct answer to the trivia. Dalbrickson says 50,000 and the average age is 29. And Siketh says the average age is 30. The answer to the trivia question is 2,500 licensed athletes have registered to climb mountains, and the average age is 19 years old.
Pretty young.
Mm-hmm. Okay, Mike, what's your trivia question for mountain climbing?
Okay, this is a two-parter. What is the most inglaciated climbed peak in the world? And part two, what is the most inglaciated climbed peak in the United States?
Okay, so if you guys know that, put that in the chat. And I like you doing the trivia question for the mountain climbing because you have so much experience with it.
Thank you.
Yeah. If you guys have any gambling questions you want to ask Michael Shackelford, please put it in the chat. Our next question comes from Zahid. These days, card counting and people are using a recently introduced paid app. What do you say about that? Should I invest in it or just play randomly?
I don't know about this paid app. It would be pretty easy to make an app to help card count, but it's also illegal in most places to use devices in the casino to help. So without knowing anything more about this app, I can't give any good comments.
Yeah, and you can learn how to card count for free. Like just use the high-low strategy and then take a deck of cards and then just go through it and just practice. It's just a matter of practicing at home and doing your homework.
Well, yeah, that's true, and that's what people should do. But if they had use of a computer, they could play a much, much stronger game.
Yep, that's true. Okay, our next question comes from Sakith, who says, were you ever hired by a casino to work out the odds for them, or do they have their own statisticians where they get the payouts from?
Yeah, I've been hired by casinos lots of times. Sometimes it was to develop new games or side bets, but usually when they want my help, it's because some player is winning a suspiciously large amount of money, and they want to know if cheating or advantage play was involved, or if they were just lucky. So that's the kind of thing that I'm good at. I can look at log files of their play to determine just how lucky they are and if there's anything suspicious about it.
Cool. And to answer the part of your question, where do they get the payouts from? When you have a carnival game or a new game put into a casino, the casino game inventor will usually include the math report to that game. They'll typically have a independent mathematician do the math to figure out what the payouts are, and then they have to verify that math with either BMM or GLI, and then they take those official reports and submit them into the gaming control board.
Right. Yeah. Casinos very seldomly make their own games. They usually just deal games that have been around a long time, like blackjack and roulette. And when they do get a new game, they basically pay for it and they trust that the game maker did all the math.
Yeah, blackjack, pai gow poker, roulette, craps, baccarat are all games that they basically use for free. They don't have to pay anyone for those games. And then if you do newer games like High Card Flush, Ultimate Texas Hold'em, 3-card poker, casinos for a full game will pay typically about $500 per month. And then if it's a side bet like Lucky Ladies, they're paying about $250 to rent the game per month.
Yep.
Okay, so our next one is from Grace, who says, what do you think is the most difficult table game to learn or to deal?
Oh, pai gow tiles, not to be confused with pai gow poker. Pai gow tiles has very complicated rules, and I'm sure is very difficult to deal because of you have to be able to set the tiles really quickly and know a rather complicated house way. So I absolutely think without hesitation that pai gow tiles is the most difficult game to both play and deal.
Can I disagree with you?
Sure.
I think it's a lot easier to learn how to deal pai gow tiles than it is craps. With craps, it usually takes 2 years to just become like a decent, okay dealer. For the whole 2 years that you're learning how to deal craps, you have to be on the game 8 hours a day, 5 days a week, and you're typically considered a break-in dealer for those first 2 years.
That's a good point. I've heard that most dealers either always deal craps or they never deal craps just because it's such a special game. And the mathematics of the game are really quite easy, but I can see that with all kinds of strange payoffs and trying to remember who made what bet and things like that, that dealing the game well would be quite difficult. So I don't disagree with you, but neither am I changing my answer.
And that's one of the things I love, like discussing stuff with you. It's like we both have our different answers and we're sticking to it, and it's just so much fun. Okay, so our next one is from Sakith, who says, what would you say to someone who says, I'm down 2,000, let me make that back and then I will stop gambling?
Well, if they didn't say it to me, I would say nothing at all. However, if they did say it to me, it's obvious that they're soliciting my opinion about it, to which I would say, leave now. Trying to get out of a hole is a bad reason to play. And I think that when you have lost, you should feel it, that you should beat yourself up over it a little bit. And if you try to get out of the hole, you're likely to lose more. So, somebody asked about money management earlier. My money management advice is quit playing when you're not having fun anymore. And if $2,000 is a lot of money to you and you're upset that you lost that, then you're clearly not having fun. And that is a good time to quit and lick your wounds.
Yeah, 100%. Never chase your losses.
Yep.
Our next or do you want to do the answer to your trivia question?
Okay. What do we got as guesses?
So we have Dal Brixton says no idea, but it is in Vaucerberg.
Never heard of it.
And that's the only one we had.
Okay, so the most inglaciated climbed peak in the world is Mount Fuji in Japan. And the most inglaciated climbed peak in the United States is Mount Hood in Oregon.
Oh, cool. Have you ever been to Mount Fuji?
I have not. I've never been to Japan, but if I ever do make it to Japan, definitely will climb it. I hear it's really not that hard. There's a little store and a post office at the top. So, how hard can it be? So
that's really cute.
So,
and if you do climb Mount Fuji, they have a hot springs hotel right at the base of Mount Fuji where you could stay in like a classic Japanese style like hotel with the mats and you're sitting on the floor. And the hot springs are separated into male and female. And then you don't wear like any clothes or you wear just the bottoms or something when you go in the hot springs. That always sounded really fun to me.
Yeah, I would like to do that. I'd really like to go to the hot springs where the monkeys come in and soak with you, but I think that's in a different part of Japan.
That would be so much fun. Our next question. Oh, what's the next trivia question?
That's the one I just asked is the only one I have off the top of my head.
Okay. Well, we have about 5 minutes left of this live stream. Do you want to get all these gambling questions in before we wrap it up?
Yeah, let's get in some more gambling questions.
Okay. So Wolf says, what do you think will be the next biggest casino game innovation?
That's a good question. Yeah, frankly, I just don't know. Yeah, just a big question mark for me on that one. However, I thought of a good trivia question. In fact, a three-part one.
Okay.
It's not exactly mountaineering, but here it is. What is the leading cause of fatalities in the Grand Canyon? That's part one. Part two is leading cause of fatalities in Yosemite. And part three, leading cause of fatalities in Yellowstone.
So all three are different?
Yep.
Wow. Okay. So if you guys know the answer to that, put that in the chat. And while we are waiting, our next gambling question comes from Cool Bananas, who's the brother of Cool Beans. What do you think of the strategy of leaving your players' cards in slot machines in the hope that the next player won't use a card or turn over a lot of points on your card?
That's a real kind of low-level advantage play. I have known people who did that, especially leaving them in high-limit machines. For somebody who maybe has a zero bankroll, what else can you do is hope people give you free points. I've also seen it where players just linger around, and if they see someone not using a card, they say, "Oh, do you mind if I put my card in?" and basically sponge off your play. Again, it's not something I would do. I consider it just like picking through trash. Just it's beneath me. But but some people may be broke, and if that's what they've got to do, I'm not going to say to not do it. But yeah, that's my opinion on that one.
I've had that happen so many times where I'm like playing on a slot machine and someone comes over. Can I put my card in there? No. No.
Well, I would let them. It's called dipping, by the way.
Oh, I would always say no.
Well, to me, it's like, if I don't want the points, why not let this player have them? Maybe it's encouraging bad behavior like begging, but I'm conflicted between setting a bad example and being a nice person and letting someone out my points.
Okay, fair enough. Our next question comes from Saketh, who says, is it possible to get an Ultimate Texas Hold'em shuffle machine from the game maker as an individual?
No. Light and Wonder, who makes these things, are very protective of them. However, they do pop up on, shall we say, side markets sometimes. Like sometimes a casino might have a hurricane or something, and just all its contents just get liquidated. And there's I hope he won't mind me saying his name, but there's somebody named John DiStefano who runs who runs a warehouse here in Vegas of used gambling equipment. And he seems to always have a few shufflers, and I don't remember the name of his business,
Casino Supplies and Services, CSS.
There you go. Wow. Great job, Heather. And he has an enormous warehouse full of gaming tables and all kinds of stuff relating to casinos. And when I've been there before, he said, yeah, I've got a few shufflers. You want to buy one? So yeah, there you go.
John is so fantastic. I love that guy.
Yeah, really nice guy. Nice. I guess he's a New Yorker.
When you were talking about casinos liquidating, a good example of that would be like when Tropicana just closed. They'll usually hold a big sale and sell everything that they had. When the Sahara did that, I remember going to the Sahara and looking at everything they had, and I think I remember seeing 1 or 2 shuffle machines there.
Okay. Yeah, I'm proud to say I have 2 door handles from the Sahara that were like in an S shape and, bejeweled the whole way.
So cool.
Okay, well, it looks like it's 4 o'clock.
Okay.
So let me give any answers to my questions.
Yes. So Saketh says in Arizona, heat or falling from the canyon.
Nope.
Yosemite, falling to death from trying to climb.
That is correct.
Okay. And Yellowstone burns from the hot springs.
No. As to Yellowstone, falling into hot springs or hot pools definitely is one of them. And lots of times when one person falls in, other people jump in to try to rescue them and they die too. So that's definitely in the top 10, but it's not number 1. Let's see what else we got here.
Dalbrickson says heat stroke, heart attack, and poison picnic basket.
Nope. It's probably a Yogi the Bear joke. No.
I got an answer.
Okay.
Taking a selfie and then backing up too far and then falling off the cliff.
No, that's been known to happen though. Not necessarily with a selfie, but the photographer will say, take a step back and they fall in, but no. The leading cause of death in Yellowstone is vehicle accidents, and they typically are caused because Yellowstone has a lot of windy roads and somebody sees a bear or something and parks in a place where there's no parking to take a picture of the bear, and then somebody else comes along behind them and rear ends that vehicle and people die. So I think that should be the cause of death there is vehicle accidents. It's not the bear's fault. It's the driver's fault. And the leading cause of death in the Grand Canyon is aviation disasters, where there's a lot of helicopters and small planes that take people from Vegas to see the Grand Canyon. And the air above the Grand Canyon is very unstable, and you get the most inexperienced pilots doing that. So just sometimes there is some whatever happens and there's a helicopter malfunction and above the Grand Canyon, and the helicopter falls in and everybody dies.
Yeah, I remember seeing news reports of some stuff like that happening.
Yep. Okay, so let's close the show on that. Thank you, Heather, for everything, and thank you, audience, for showing up and for all your questions.
Always a pleasure doing these with you, Mike.
Likewise.
And if you guys asked a question that we didn't get to, please feel free to join us on our next live stream and then ask the question again. Mike, when would be a good time to do the next live stream?
I thought you would never ask. How about on the summer solstice, June 20th?
Oh, okay. Sounds good.
Okay.
Well, looking forward to it.
Me too.
Awesome. I hope you have a great one, Mike.
Okay, you too, Heather. Thanks, and bye, everybody.
Thank you. Bye.